Today on The Nation Speaks, the midterm election set a new record for spending, at least $16.7 billion. A lot of that money goes to ads. We ask veteran political ad man Adam Goodman what ROI candidates expect from that investment. Then, in America Q&A, after 2 years in office, what do you think President Biden's biggest accomplishments are? Next, since most candidates don't have millions of dollars of their own, where does the money come from? And what do donors expect in return? Dan McMillan, historian and founder of Save Democracy in America, says the answer to this is America's biggest problem. Finally, in our second America Q&A, what profession do you respect most? Hello and welcome to The Nation Speaks. I'm your host, Cindy Drucker. A new record has been set for spending on these midterm elections. OpenSecrets.org says once the final bills are paid, state and federal spending combined will exceed $16.7 billion. That's with Republicans outspending the Democrats by a modest $390 billion. Senate races spent the most. Topping the list were Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Ohio, and Wisconsin. And of course, that doesn't yet include what will be thrown at Georgia during the Senate runoff election set for December 6th. That's between Democrat incumbent Raphael Warnock and his Republican challenger, Trump-backed NFL star Herschel Walker. So there seems to be no downward pressure on how many dollars are spent, begging the question, are candidates getting a good return on their investment? And more importantly, are the American people? That's what I ask today's guests. Joining us now is Adam Goodman, a veteran political strategist. He's been at this for 4 decades. He's currently a consultant at Ballard Associates. He was the first Edward R. Murrow Senior Fellow at Tufts University. He's also the host of the podcast, 13th and Park. Adam, welcome.
Thanks for promoting our podcast. Appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, let's talk election and election spending. It seems like there's no limit to how much candidates and parties are willing to spend on elections. But is there an ROI?
We're going to find out because we're talking about upwards of $16 billion that will have been spent this cycle on political TV ads. I mean, they were thinking it was going to be maybe 7, 8, 9 billion, which was mind blowing. It could be $16 billion. There's a rule of thumb, though, in campaign advertising, which is it takes generally 800 to 1,000 rating points to saturate a message, meaning people can recall a message or begin to recall a message. Now you're talking about thousands of rating points being devoted behind every commercial, up against other commercials getting similar oversaturation. The question is this: when you get to that point of saturation or oversaturation, where does the declining return start to set in? And when does it become really white noise, where there's so much going on in so many different directions? And the bigger question is, how do you break through that fog? Where do you go beyond television? And of course, the whole industry has changed dramatically, especially over the last 2 to 3 years.
Right. So that's my question. How effective are TV ads compared to everything else, which is a lot cheaper, spending on the internet and I guess, direct text messaging, that kind of thing. So are they as effective?
I'd still rather have a 30-second spot on the 60-minute show on the Sunday before an election than just about anything. With that said, there have been big changes even online. Facebook, for instance, and Twitter, Facebook more than Twitter, got massive amounts of advertising dollars in 2020. Percentage-wise, got much less this time because of the screens. It's harder to get political advertising approved and placed on Facebook, and the targeting has become more difficult with Facebook as well. That means we're looking at other things. And to give you a quick 30-second on how this is all evolved, we went from regular television being it, to cable news television in particular being the new hot ticket, to the internet and Facebook and Twitter and other things. Now we're looking at other delivery vehicles like connected television, which basically is things that stream to viewers on smart television sets, on tablets, on iPhones, and other ways of getting at the cord cutters. The cord cutters are the ones who just basically refuse to pay for cable. There's a way to get to them too. It's called OTT. Those are becoming much more popular and more prevalent, but still, the bottom line is the most powerful way to deliver a message in politics, or I would argue for anything, is a visual message. But the distribution channels are much more varied, much more precise, but also much more scattered. And it's more competitive because visually, if you have all this stuff coming at you as a consumer, the stuff that's still the only stuff I think that will survive that for sure are the creative things. And you need more of them than ever to kind of saturate effectively any campaign message.
Joining us now, Adam McMillan, a historian, author, and former prosecutor. He's also the founder and executive director of Save Democracy in America, a nonprofit, nonpartisan group that's trying to change how election campaigns raise money. Dan, welcome.
Thank you so much, Cindy. It's great to be with you and your fans today.
Let's start with a big question. Our previous guest talked all about how much political parties, candidates are spending, particularly on campaign ads. But the big question is, whose money is it that they're spending? And what ROI are they expecting from that? And I know that's something you pay close attention to, so give us your thoughts.
In general terms, the overwhelming share, in recent years, donations under $200 in size have grown a lot. But they're still only 20% of the total, and they tend to go overwhelmingly to a few high-profile candidates, for example, like Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump. Overwhelmingly, it is from millionaires, even more billionaires, so-called mega donors, corporations, industry pressure groups, and we don't know how much, but in 2020, at least $1 billion out of the $14.4 billion total was dark money. Well, we don't even know who the donors are, and that's a growing problem, because there are all kinds of ways that dark money groups can buy ads and not even have to disclose it to the Federal Election Commission. I love your term return on investment, because a successful lobbyist famously said, and this was already back in the 1990s when it wasn't as bad as it is today, he said, no investment has a higher rate of return than a political contribution. And truer words were never said. And what do they expect from this? Well, by the way, industries typically give to both parties. That way, no matter who wins the election, they're protected. What they get is, by donating this money, then their lobbyists, when their lobbyists go to talk to the members of Congress who have received this money, the members of Congress listen. The lobbyists have a lot of muscle, because fundamentally, lobbyists control the spigot of campaign cash. Does their clients give money? Lobbyists actually stage fundraisers for politicians, and it's amazing this is legal. Lobbyists actually give them bright paychecks, checks out of their own fat salaries directly to the campaigns of senators and representatives they need to influence to get some goodie for their client.